Do you have your Bibles with you? I hope you do. Hope you open up to Psalm 139. If you think about the human condition, all of us at some way or another, we're really scared of being unnoticed. We are afraid of being unnoticed at some level. When in high school, students, they're the worst at this, right? Because they're terrified of being noticed, but yet they really want attention. They kind of want both. They don't want negative attention, they want positive attention. But adults are very similar. It's the human condition. Everybody wants validation. We want to know that someone noticed us. They've done experiments where people they do experiments where people they say, avoid that person to see what it feels like for a day. It's horrible. It freaks them out. They do that no one even notices you. Oftentimes people who do horrible things in schools or the suicide, they'll say, so-and-so just kept to themselves. On the letter will say, no one even cared that I was here. They go throughout life and no one really notices. And it doesn't matter how many people in the room. People live in New York City, say, I can walk on the streets full of people and feel completely alone. Feeling alone, feel like no one's going to care, no one's going to notice you is a human problem. Everyone wants to feel like someone noticed we're here and that we matter. Some people have severe phobias of it, and it's called agoraphobia. Two different kinds of phobias. You can say it's the fear of forgetting, but then it's also used as the fear of not being remembered, the fear of being ignored, that you just don't matter. And it is part of what we humans go through. I mean, if we're honest, everyone wants to be noticed a little bit. They care about it. People in the church work all the time. I walked in that massive church and no one noticed me. I remember I went to a church one time in a different city in Texas, and I visited the church when I first got there, and for 6 weeks, no one spoke to me. And I went to a Bible study. And on the 6th week, there was a luncheon coming up, and a woman came out of nowhere with a clipboard and said, Are you coming to lunch? I go, what lunch? Hello, I'm David. 6 weeks. And I'm a pretty healthy, mature guy, but I'm thinking, man, how many weeks does it take before I'm even noticed I'm alive here? And that's unfortunate. Imagine going through life, all your life, and no one caring. And one of the sad things, it seems to me, is when people go through death. A major problem in the U.S. are a lot of John Does and Jane Does. In fact, our morgues are filled with them all over the U.S. People who die who are completely unknown. There's no IDs. They're not in the system. No family is looking for them, as far as we know. And they all just get cremated. There's no funeral, no farewell, just none. This is all over the place, all cities all over the U.S. It's a big problem that we have. The psalmist today in Psalm 139 reflects on being fully known in Psalm 139. Now, the situation is probably that the psalmist has been accused of doing something wrong, and he's saying, I'm innocent. That's probably the what's going on. But before he goes there, he has this really incredible, fascinating, maybe not too novel, but a great, fascinating way he's articulated the way God really is. I hope you have your Bible open or a Bible app or something to Psalm 139. He says, O Lord, you've searched me and you know me. You know me. You know when I sit down, when I rise up. You discern, you understand my thoughts from far away. You know exactly what I'm thinking. You search out my path and my lying down, and you're acquainted with all my ways, every little idiosyncrasy. Even before his word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You know exactly what I'm going to say. You hem me in, or that is, you press from in and out, behind and before. You lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It's so high I can't even attain it. That is, I can't grasp how you know a person so well. Now, my parents knew me that well, particularly my mom. She knew me pretty well. She didn't know my thoughts. But the closest thing after that really is my wife. She'll complete my sentences sometimes. It's cool and creeps you out, like saying, like, I know you. That's one of her phrases. I know you. And it took some time, I'll be honest. How long did it take before, if you're married, it took a while before you left the door open when you used the restroom? It takes a while. It took a brother a long time, Bert. I'll be honest with you. Tell, like, come on now. I'd go hide. If I had an outhouse, I would do that with 14 doors. They'd leave me alone. My kids wouldn't leave me alone, Sharon. They would literally, I would shut the door and lock it. Now, they've been playing out backyard for hours, but when I shut that door, it's code for running and seeing what Daddy is. And so they would go and bring their chairs up. We have pictures. They'd bring little baby chairs up and sit there in front of the door. And they'd put their fingers under the door. Leave me alone. Dad needs some privacy. Elaine, get a camera quick. No. Get your parents on Skype. Bring the dog in. There's something, I don't want you to know everything. And then eventually you just give up. You just give up sometimes. And so some people know me really well. Some people know me really well, and that's cool. The psalmist here, of course, says, God knows us perfectly well. In the ancient world, Mediterranean gods, the Canaanites, the Egyptians, and so forth, they could talk about the gods knowing all things. But really, when you read the narratives, what they really often talk about are gods who are they don't know everything. They're not omniscient. The gods will fight each other. They bicker back and forth. They have to communicate because the gods don't know everything. Now, the psalmist here isn't just talking about God knowing everything about everything, though that is true. God is omniscient. The psalmist is reflecting on the fact that God knows everything about him, and it would have been a him. I think it'd be her. That's fine for today. God's knowledge of me is absolutely complete. He knows everything. He knows everything about me. I remember when I was in high school, I wish I knew the date because it really changed my life. I remember I was junior or senior in high school. It probably one early senior, I bet. And it was the week I used to go to live in church. I mean, I lived there all the time. On Sundays, I was there from Sunday morning till about noon or 1. I'd go home, eat lunch, and come right back for handbells, then choir, then Bible study. Then I loved it. I was there every Wednesday night. But during the week, if someone asked me, is God with you where you go? I would say, sure. I believed it. But I remember the one week it hit me. God is with me everywhere I go. He knows everything about me. And I remember at Sunday nights we had a prayer, praise, and request time before this, the Bible study started. I remember raising my hand going, this week it really hit me. That was a novel thing for a teenager. I remember thinking also, the God I'm praying to right now, in the second in the youth group, that's the same God who spoke to Moses. Abraham. And all of a sudden, Lexi, the Bible, the God of the Bible, wasn't just abstract old dude. He was a living presence all of a sudden. I believed him. I was a Christian since I was 6 or 7, but all of a sudden, it really hit me. He really knows. When I'm in math class and whatever class, and I'm in band camp, and now part of me might go, oh Lord, I don't want you to know everything about me. And I don't, but he does. And the psalmist isn't reflecting on sinfulness. That was last week when we talked about Psalm 51. Here he's reflecting on how that's a good thing, that he knows everything about himself. The psalmist saying, we would say he still knows everything about us. Everything. The Apostle Paul said it this way to the Corinthians. He looked forward to the day when we'll see him face to face. Paul said, for now we see in a mirror indirectly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully, just as I have been fully known. He has always known every bit about you. Jesus encourages disciples several places, and one of the times he encourages the disciples to not be afraid to be his disciple in the face of persecution. Listen to what Jesus said. He talks about how much God the Father knows them. Jesus said, don't be afraid of them. First Christian, for nothing is hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing is secret that will not be made known. That is, in the end of all time, it's all going to be manifest, what we went through, and who harmed us, who did wrong, and what we did too. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light. And what is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the housetops. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Instead, fear the one who's able to destroy both soul and body in hell. That is, you be more concerned about what I can do to you, not what they can do to you. Aren't 2 sparrows sold for a penny? The point is they're worthless. Yet not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will. That is, he knows all about it. Even all the hairs on your head are numbered. So don't be more afraid. Aren't you more valuable than the sparrows? As one wife told me after the first service, she looked at her husband and said, I can tell you right now, 4. I counted his hair. There's 4 hair left. I said, there's more than 4. I said, okay, God knows your hair follicles on the head. Jesus is saying that. God the Father knows everything about you. He knows the hair on your head. When we struggle, when we're at work, we're at home, and our joys and our depressions, God is not absent. He's not absent. You don't have to beg for God to wake up. Please listen to my prayer. Please be aware of what I'm going through. The psalmist here is saying that can't happen. He's right in the midst of what you're going through. Do you ever think about it this way? God, the Father, Son, and the Spirit, they really do genuinely know your name. Not just in a knowledge, a propositional fact, like I know all names of all humans, but I know you. He knows your name is Sherry. He knew you before you even got a name. He knew that you would have that name, rather. He knows it. When I pray, he says, Aaron, good to hear from you. When we go to God, it's not an abstract, oh, Godeth and heaveneth, how do you want to heareth my prayereth? Because he's got to hear it. No, talk to me. I was listening to your thoughts before you started praying. Just talk. What's it like to go through life knowing the hairs are hair numbered? And what's it like to go through life knowing that we don't matter at all? That no one knows our name. Princess Diana's brother is Earl Spencer, and he married an American woman, good for her, named Karen. They had a baby not too long ago. And Karen Gordon does a lot of work throughout the world in orphanages. And she goes through and trains the workers how to do what we might call common sense things for kids. But what they notice on a lot of these orphanages in real third world countries, that the kids, of course, were not developing well. They weren't gaining weight. They weren't growing that tall. They had mental retardation, all kinds of speech, behavior problems, all kinds of issues. And she'd go there and train them and say, well, if you hug them and love on them, say kind things to them, take care of them, let's see what happens kind of thing. And of course, you imagine, they filled up, grew up, almost all the disorders went away. They slept well, ate well. And she said, I can't explain to you the kind of conditions you see all around the world. We would ask kids where they're from. They don't know. We would ask all kinds of questions. They don't know. We would meet kids who didn't have a name. I remember talking to one kid in particular. I was asking the worker, what's his name? She goes, I don't know. She goes, well, does anyone know? She goes, no. I said, what do you mean you don't know their name? She goes, no one knows his name. He's been to so many orphanages in 3 years, we don't know what to call him. So they had to make up a name. No one knows who he is. That's a real fear that we can have. The psalmist is saying it is not like that with God. You are not shifted around through seasons of life, through bad relationships and bad dreams or good dreams, and God's like, I forgot all about them. Oh, what's up? What's your name, Greg? Okay, nice to meet you. It doesn't happen ever that way. Ever. The psalmist says, not only does he know me, know my thoughts, he's everywhere I go. Look in verse 7. He's pondering rhetorically, where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? The answer, of course, is nowhere. He gives some expressions in verse 8. If I ascend to heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you're there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, that's east to west, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is light to you. The point is, you can still see there too. I've shown this image before, and I'll always show it because it's still true. Ancient Hebrews thought of the universe like this. It was very small. You had three kind of layers. You had the below the earth called Sheol. That's where the abode of the dead were. That's where they had. And they had pillars, and beneath all the pillars are the great deep of water. That's down below. And that's what he's saying. Even if I go way down below, you're still going to be there. If I go up a little bit to the heavens, the skies, you're still there. If I go to the third layer, way up higher where you are, of course, the heavenly realm, of course he's there. The psalmist is just saying, though we have different kind of view of science, scientific conclusions, his point is still the same, which is, I cannot escape your presence. And he's going east to west. If I go the wings of the dawn all the way out to the sea, if you're Palestinian, if you go west, what do you see? You see the ocean. They're on the seacoast. So if I go east to west, as far as I can go, I'm going to go there, and guess what? Your right hand can be right guiding me. I cannot escape your presence. Now, some people, that's just, especially atheist skeptics, oh no, that's creepy. I don't want him going everywhere I go. That's not the psalmist's point, and no Jew thought that, and I would dare say no Christian would think that. It's much more akin to being a loving parent. Unlike the other gods who live here and go there and dwell there, God, in the ancient world, they thought he dwelled mostly, or his presence is mostly found in the temple, but his presence everywhere you go. Like a loving parent. When my kids are real little, when Hayden was a baby, we were always around him. Always. Even so much he slept in a crib in our master bedroom. Elaine was hard to get him out of her sight for months. Now, he woke up every 2 hours for 9 months. So that stunk. I wanted him to put him in the garage, but she wouldn't let me. I said, if he'll sleep, look, there's food and water. They're made. They're gerbils. They lick the thing. She wouldn't let me. What kind of parent am I? I wouldn't do that. I don't do it. No matter how much Benadryl we gave him, he would not. Just a joke. Sorry, Sherry. We didn't give him Benadryl. What kind of parent? Sorry. He did wake up every 2 hours. But we didn't leave his presence. He was always there, and he grew up, and that was good. It was good. And Julia, too, kind of. And then as you grew up, everywhere he went, right, diapers, whatever it was, we're there. We're a present help. We're always there. We want to be there. And that's how it's supposed to be. A lot of parents don't stop doing that. They grow up. Now their kids are this tall, and they're like, come helicopter parents. That's not healthy. They don't get out of the mindset. But you're supposed to do that when they're real little because they're helpless. They're the most advanced little creature of all the creatures in the world, and they're the most helpless. And we have to be there beside them to help them, to feed them, to drink, wash, bathe, whatever. The psalmist saying it's like that. I can't run from here to there. I can go from this room to that room, no matter where I go. You can put your hand and guide me like a parent would do his child. And my kids would do stuff sometimes that would hurt them, or they couldn't get the toy to just fit or whatever. And if they would have just asked me, I'd help them. Sometimes I say, baby, this way. Baby, come on. I'll help you. And when they leaned on my presence and acted like I was there all the time, it was good for them. It was good for them when they acted like I was there all the time. I was there all the time. They didn't always act like I was there all the time. And parents know the difference when you see your kids or grandkids make dumb choices. Why do they do that? I want to give them advice. I want to give them wisdom. I've been down that road. If they'll just listen. God says, the psalmist saying, God, it's like that with you. I can't go anywhere without you being there. That's good news. That's good news. He goes on and we're done. We're almost done. Not only does he know everything about me, and he's everywhere I go, and this next section, he knows everything about the length of my life. Look in verse 13. For you form it literally says in Hebrew, you form my kidneys. He also formed the other parts too, but his innermost parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well. I imagine the psalmist looking at his hands and feet going, man, look at this. My frame was not hidden from you. It means like a skeletal structure. Wasn't hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Now, I never called Elaine's bosom the depths of the earth because I wanted to sleep in the same bed. But that's the psalmist is saying the same way I don't have access to the inside of the earth. I can't dig down there and go see it. Just like the inside of a womb. Back then, they couldn't see inside. It's a metaphor. So it's secret to me, but it's not secret to you. You see what's going on inside the womb. They didn't have 3D imaging. Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me when none of them as yet existed. That's a common metaphor throughout all the ancient world. That is, God knows, as we're in a book or a document, He sees the beginning and end. He sees the beginning, and He knows exactly how long we're going to be on earth. How weighty to me are your thoughts, O God, verse 17. How vast is the sum of them. I try to count them. They're more than the sand. I come to the end. I'm still with you. He not only knows everything about me, which he does, and I can't escape his presence, which is good. And now he formed me from birth until death. He's intimately aware of that. Other gods might know in the ancient world, might know up to about a year in advance. But the Jewish author here is saying he knows everything when he weaved us like a basket weaver. Our unformed substance is what it says in Hebrew, in the womb. until we die. Did you know that everyone dies? But we're shocked when it happens all the times. Of course, because we're shocked because it happens at times we didn't want it to happen. It seems unfair to us. It seems unfair when our unloved ones die before we thought before their time. But notice how we say that like we're God. It was before their time. Well, how do you know that? See, the psalmist and the ancient people in the Bible say that's not happen. There's never a time someone dies and God goes, what just happened? What? Pete? Why didn't you let me know this is about to happen? Spirit, this is your fault. It never happens that way. Ever through the Bible. Ever. Ever. Whenever it does happen for you and me, the psalmist is saying God knew exactly when that time was coming. And just because we don't doesn't mean he was surprised. He knows us so well. He knows exactly what was going on at the embryo stage, as we would say in our zygote stage, all the way to the end. He's very aware. Sisters and brothers, there's never a season of life through which we go where he is not aware of what we're going through. There's never a season of life. And I've met too many people who are convinced I'm almost done. Stay with me. I'm convinced too many people who do not believe what I just said. David, you don't know what I was doing. I was sinning back then. Boy, back in college, I really left God. No, you didn't. You left God's ways, but you didn't leave him, because that's impossible. Someone just the other day asked me if it was okay to do this particular sexual sin. Was that bad? What if we all know we're going into it together? What's the big difference? And I go, well, you know who's going to be there? And they go, well, so-and-so. I said, no. They won't be there. What about this? You know who else is going to be there? She said, I don't know. I said, God. She made this horrible face. Kind of creeped her out. I said, it should. Don't you realize everything you do and every plan you have about this stuff? That's not wise to do that choice you're thinking about doing, because he's with you there too. Everywhere, about everything, all the time. So my last encouragement is this. Well, as the psalmist, I don't want to end there. I have to end it. The psalmist goes on to say, God, search my heart and mind. I know I'm not guilty of what these other people are accusing me of. I'm not like those enemies of yours. But if my encouragement to you this morning is anything, it's this. Please don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Please don't be afraid when it comes to God to say, you know what? God, there are certain areas of my life I'm welcome for you to have. I'm welcome. I'll do all this church stuff, religious stuff, whatever that nonsense means. I hear that all the time. I'll give you parts of me. If anything the psalmist can do maybe rather this morning is to remind us, please be open. There's no locked doors. There's no shut doors in life. He already knows exactly what's going on. Why not just consciously admit it? I am utterly known by a loving God who wants to form me into the image of Jesus. That's a good thing. If I told my children, please don't shut me out. Please don't block. How many parents do it to the kids right now? And they blocked you out, and they shut you out, they didn't listen to your wisdom, and they're making bad choices. It makes us sad. If anything, the psalmist might remind us this morning is, man, I can't go anywhere, God. This is amazing. And it's a good thing not to be able to get away from his presence. So God, I give you everything, my imperfections, my sinful habits, whatever it might be. I want to be fully known. Much more than I want to be fully known even by my spouse or my best friend. I know you know me. And I want to act like that every day.